Hello, my name is Brad Hughes. I will be the advisor on your 401k plan. If we think about reasons why you should join the Jack in the Box 401k plan, the process is easy. Once you enroll, contributions are made with each and every pay period. There are some income tax benefits built into 401k plans. Any growth within the plan grows compounded. You can access your funds through loans should you need to. And then probably most importantly, Social Security alone will not be enough for most people to retire on. We think about Social Security, it replaces about 27% of your income today. So anything above and beyond that would have to be made up with pensions, which very few people have access to, retirement savings, maybe part-time work, whatever it may be. If we think about retirement savings, a 401k plan tends to be the easiest and most effective way to save for retirement because it is that automatic process that's going in with each and every pay period. And then if we think about financial stresses out there right now in the world, in the US, about 2/3 of people are struggling with household expenses each month. More than half have had to postpone retirement, and 1 in 4 have less than $1,000 saved for retirement. So hopefully having access to a plan like this reduces financial stress for you, gets you to the point where you are saving for retirement, and gets you on track to be able to retire at a time when you want to. As far as eligibility, once you have worked for Jack in the Box for at least 1 year and 1,000 hours in that year and are 18 years of age, you have the ability to enroll in the plan. The plan does have monthly entry dates, so whatever month you enroll in, your contributions would start the month after that as long as you are eligible. Once you enroll, you have 4 decisions to make. The first is how much you wish to contribute. It can either be a percentage of gross pay or a flat dollar amount per pay period, whichever you prefer. You will make a decision on contribution type, pre-tax or Roth after tax, and we'll talk about the differences of those two on the next slide. You will make an investment selection, or if you do not, one will be made for you. And then lastly, just like life insurance, you'll name a beneficiary, so who you want the balance to go to should you pass away. We think about the difference between pre-tax and Roth contributions. Pre-tax contributions tend to make more sense if you're closer to retirement. I would say 10 years or less until retirement, or irrespective of whatever age you are, if you are owing the IRS when you file your taxes. So pre-tax contributions, what you put into the plan in that year actually reduces your taxable income, or it's a deduction to your income, and then it's taxable when you take it out. So as an example, say your W-2 normally reads 40,000, you contribute $2,000 throughout the year. It's going to look like to the IRS that you only made 38,000. So that because you received that deduction or that reduction in your income today, everything you've put in plus the growth, you are taxed on it when you take it out in the future. As long as that withdrawal is after age 59 and a half, it is just whatever your income tax bracket is then. If you take a withdrawal before 59 and a half, it's your current income tax bracket or income tax bracket at that time, plus a 10% IRS penalty. Roth after tax works essentially the opposite. Same 40,000 on your W-2, you contribute 2,000, you pay tax on the full 40,000 today, but when you go to take withdrawals in retirement after that age 59 and a half, everything you've put in plus the growth, you can take out income tax free. So that's why the Roth tends to make more sense if you are younger. I would say more than 10 years from retirement. And as long as you're receiving a refund each year, it would not change your income tax situation at all. If we think about the income tax benefits inside of a 401k plan, any growth, like I said, does grow tax deferred and it compounds upon itself. So as you make contributions, the example here assumes that you contribute 150 per month over a 30-year period, and then it grows at 8% for you. The light blue at the bottom is inside of a taxable account, so not a 401k plan. That 150 a month, it assumes that it generates some level of interest and dividends. Those are taxable. The tax that is due on those, it pays the tax out of the account, therefore reducing it a little bit each year. So you don't receive all of the growth. It pays some tax in it each year. So you get to the end of that 30 years and your 150 a month is turned into approximately 145,000. The top number, or the darker blue, is inside of a 401k plan. Those same interest and dividends are generated each and every year, but you do not pay tax on them in that year. Instead, they're reinvested into your plan. They buy more shares of whatever you're investing in. And as you can see, the longer you own the plan, you're inside of the plan, the difference between the taxable account and the tax deferred or the 401k plan becomes larger and larger because you just keep buying more and more shares over time. If we think about the tax deferred account, the 225,000, If you were making pre-tax contributions, that would then be taxable when you go to take withdrawals. So because of that, normally people will not take it all out at once. They take out small portions at a time, 10, 15, 20,000 per year, and you're only taxed on the amount that you actually take out. If you were making Roth after-tax contributions, all of that 225,000 you could withdraw income tax-free if you chose to. If we think about the investment options in the plan, there are 4 ways to invest. The first is Transamerica Stable Value. This is a fixed account. It earns about 2% per year. It cannot lose money. The younger you are, the less sense this probably makes to be in. But if you want some portion of your account that is stable and not tied to stocks or bonds, that would be the choice for you. The target date funds are the default in the plan. So they are age-based models. They're tied to your date of birth. As an example, if you were born in 1990, it assumes that you're going to retire when you're 65, so it places you in a 2055 fund. These target date funds are more aggressive, or they have more stock exposure when you're younger, and more conservative or less stock exposure as you get closer to retirement. And on the next slide, we'll look and talk about how those are constructed and built. There are balanced funds in the plan as well from both Vanguard and American funds. These are a combination of stock and bond as well, but they do not change over time. And then lastly, there's 19 additional mutual funds from conservative to aggressive if you want to build something for yourself. So if we look at how the target date funds themselves are constructed, again, this is the default. When you go through that enrollment registration process, you'll see that it's listed when you get to the investment selection portion. And if you want something different, you can just opt to choose something different. You do not have to. You can just stay in this if you choose. But you'll see both blue and green there on the right-hand side. The blue is the stock exposure. The green is a combination of bond exposure and that stable value fixed account. And age 35 and younger, it's almost all stock, no bond. And then from 35 to 65, they automatically decrease or roll down that stock exposure by about 2% per year until it goes from 100% stock down to about 40% stock at age 65. If we think about the difference between stocks and bonds, stocks give you the greatest stability for long-term growth, but they're also the most volatile. So stocks are positive 7.5 out of every 10 years. A good year, you could earn 20%. A bad year, you could lose 20%. A long-term average rate of return is 8% on stocks. And then bonds, a little bit different. They're positive 8.5 out of every 10 years, but they have a lot less upside and a lot less downside potential. So a good year in bonds, you could earn 5%. A bad year, you could lose 4%. And a long-term average rate of return on bonds is 3.5 to 4%. So that is the reason that they bring in the bond exposure and increase it as you get closer to retirement, so that you're not 2 or 3 years from retirement and we have one of those years where stocks do poorly. In that instance, you would be considerably less impacted in this type of an investment. That final decision is beneficiary designation. You are selecting who you want the balance to go to should you pass away. If you're married, it should be your spouse. If you're not, you get to name anybody that you choose. And I do try to discourage people from naming a minor child. If you were to name a minor child, the courts would come in and determine how the money gets invested on their behalf. And once they reach age 18, they would receive those funds lump sum. You also have the ability to access your funds through a loan. You can borrow up to half of your balance once you have 2,000 in your account. Minimum loan is 1,000, maximum is 50,000. The benefits to a 401k loan is you are borrowing your own money and you're paying the loan interest back to yourself. The loan interest rate is high right now. It's 1% over prime rate, so right now it's 9.5%. And those loan repayments go in automatically through payroll, so it's not something that you have to physically do. The downsides to a 401k loan, the amount you borrow is not invested. So say you had 10,000 in your account and you borrowed 5,000, you'd only have 5,000 that was still invested and had the ability to earn for you. Loans can be paid back over 5 years unless it is for a primary residence, then you can stretch that out to 15 years. And if you have an outstanding loan and you are no longer employed, you have 30 to 90 days to pay that back, or that amount becomes a distribution and it's taxable to you. And if you're under that age 59.5, it has that additional 10% penalty associated with it as well. You also have the ability to do a hardship withdrawal. So the reasons for that are listed there on the screen. Some of these are taxable, some are not, but you do have to have proof of the reason for the hardship withdrawal to be completed. With the loan, it's general purpose. They do not ask any questions what it's being used for. But for these, because you are, it's a different type, you're being taxed on it. You do have to show proof before the money can actually come out of the account. So because of the fact some of these are taxable, the loan tends to be the preferred method to get funds out of the account while you're working, should you need to. And then lastly, if you have a balance from a previous employer, an old 401k plan, and you want to roll that over, you can do that either by contacting me directly or Transamerica, whichever you prefer. So you will have my contact information. Thank you for taking the time to learn about your 401k plan. Have a great day. Thanks.